So a huge welcome to everybody who is on this Q&A. We're very excited about the prospect of this new program. I'm just going to go through a few little bits of housekeeping, and yeah, once we've done that, the run of events will be, Mel will be acting in support and taking in all the questions and letting people into the meeting. I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction, some housekeeping, and then Emily is going to kick in answering the questions. Some of the questions we may not actually have an answer for. If we don't, if you could put your names in the name sort of area to name your picture, it will help us to identify who has asked what. So yeah, from a housekeeping perspective, if you could stay on mute, it would be very helpful in moderating the questions as they come in. Submit all the questions via chat and we'll track them and go through them as they come in. We already have a few that have come in via email, which we will address. And also your name and organization on your picture is just helpful to identify you guys. So another thing that is that we're going to, questions that we're not going to answer today are questions around, is this a good idea? Is what you want to do a valid, good idea? Because this is a competitive process, I'm sure you can appreciate we can't triage the ideas in this session or even on email. As long as you read the guidelines and you read the documents that were shared, you'll have a strong sense of what we're looking for. And if we engage in those kinds of conversation with one person, we have to do it for everyone. And the whole process is around read all the collateral we've put out, put together an application, submit it. Even if you're not 100% sure, submit one. And we'll take it from there, and it'll go through a really moderated internal assessing process. With that said, I am going to hand over to Emily so we can kick off and get some questions asked and answered. Thanks very much to all of you for being here today, and I'm now going on mute. Over to you, Emily.
Thanks, Leanne. So I'm going to start by answering a couple of questions. I have 7 questions that we've identified through the registration, and some that have come through the IEP mailbox. Please start sending your question into the chat, and after I've responded to the 7, I will start responding to those ones. One of the first questions that we had is, do we need to provide cash contribution? So the answer is no. This is you're applying for a grant. You can, you don't have to, but no, it's not a requirement for you to provide cash contributions. Do we need to provide in kind? Yes. So it's as part of the guidelines. It's very important that at least you're providing in kind into that project, into your application, and you are actually describing what in kind you're providing. Third question I have was, can this be an existing project? So if this project already happened and is already paid for, the answer is no. We don't back pay or retrofit back pay. Retro back pay, sorry, the project. If it's an extension of an existing project that you have, then yes, put it in, because we are going to be filling up a project agreement, so similarly to what we're already doing with our existing partners, and for other partners, there is a contract project agreement process where we have milestones payments, so it will be paid in installments and on provision of a deliverable or evidence of work. To go back to what Leanne suggested before, there's a few, we've had a lot of emails, people saying, do you think our project is a good idea? Or do you think that meets the requirement for the program? We cannot tell you because that's part of the assessment process. So You have the guidelines. As long as you fit the guidelines, it's not, yes, there's probably it's probably vague, but this is what we want, something that has an impact. So, you know, if you think it's a good idea and if you think it meets the criteria, please submit it and it will be assessed alongside all the other applications. Another question that we received was, what is the definition of impact? So the impact definition is its actual definition. So it's a powerful effect that something, especially something new, has on a situation or a person. So it's really that standard definition of an impact. That's what we want to see into the proposals. Who can apply? Well, anyone that has an ABN, anyone that has a presence in Australia can apply for this grant. Next question was, for current CRC partners, what will be the benefit of pursuing a submission to this call versus the standard project development process? So as you may be aware, the standard project development process is that we're asking for at least 3 partners. So there's iMOVE, a university and an industry partner as a minimum to all provide cash. And we have rules around the percentage. In this case, this does not apply. It doesn't require multi-parties. It doesn't require a uni and an industry partner providing X percentage. It just, you know, the minimum is 1 partner and all the money can go to that 1 partner, 1 industry. So the difference as well is that in a standard project, the money goes to a university, but in this one, it could go to an industry or a university or a government agency. All right, that was my last question. I'm going to start getting into the chat questions. So does the project need to be based on previous or existing iMOVE projects? So I've kind of answered that over there. No, it doesn't have to be. It can, but really it doesn't. You know, it could be anything new, anything different. What is the budget structure? Does the university? No, it's what I just answered. It's not the standard iMOVE iMOVE process. It's could be 100% to that organization delivering that project. All right, there's a next question. On the first page of the guideline, it mentioned, through this program, we seek to accelerate the evolution of ideas, products and services arising from existing research programs. What is the definition of existing research programs? Leanne, can I give that one to you?
Sure. It's not something that that's a bit of an introduction into holistically what we want to achieve. The bottom line is, if there's a project that you have or there's something that you're working on and an injection of $500,000 will help progress what you're doing, and you're working in transport and mobility, and those outcomes align with us as an organization, you're eligible. So regardless of it's effectively as broad as that. So I hope that answers the question without having to go into, because I can't actually see the question, but effectively, if you are doing something that's really interesting, that's innovative, that's going to help make progress in transport and mobility, moving people, moving goods, ITS, in the broadest possible interpretation of that, as well as obviously sustainability, and sustainable projects in that space, in that domain, you're eligible. So I'd recommend that you put in an application.
Thank you. Next question was, does a project have to extend another project or existing system, process, or no, it doesn't at all. Doesn't have to. I don't have any more questions. All right, there's one here. What are the IP implications of the grant? Would the product be owned solely by the fundee, or would iMOVE have IP? I would say that you would have to negotiate this depending on how many partners you have, but iMOVE is not looking to own any IP. It will be your IP. It will not be iMOVE.
And that also, just to extend what Emily's saying, that also goes to the impact. We acknowledge that the way to get the best outcome is to support a sort of business in developing this new thing, whatever it may be, and then allowing that business to take it to market. And that is part of supporting a high impact, you know, program of work, which is what these grants are meant to do.
Right. Thank you. Next question is, will iMOVE have a role in bringing our project to other potential parties, customers, if eligible? No, we're not. This is not what we're looking at. It's your project, your partners. You know, we're not. It's not something that we'll take to partners. It will be you bring up your idea, your project, your partners into this, and if that, you know, if we want during the assessment, if that's the one that we want to go with, we'll put a contract together, but we are not looking at bringing partners on top of this. And if the benefits need to derive to Australia, does that exclude working with Australian companies? Sorry, need to derive to Australia. Does it exclude working with Australian companies to apply our tech to other regions such as Southeast Asia? I'm going to assume that it means that you're working with Australian companies in other regions. So if your impact, you would have to demonstrate that you could be working in a project in another country. So the project can happen in another country with an Australian company, but you would have to prove that it's something that is applicable to Australia. And that, yeah, has a potential and potential pathway to market in Australia. We have the grant that we have is Australian federal money, so we need to stay a bit in Australia or have an Australian impact. I hope that answers the question. Next one is, what are the expectations regarding collaboration between the industry and the university? Additionally, what are the expectations regarding monetary contributions for both parties? Responded to that question already. It could be just an industry, just a university. It can be several universities together. However you choose to collaborate, it could be, you could submit for yourself or a collaboration. So there's no expectations here. It can be whatever collaboration mechanism you want to apply. Expectations regarding monetary contribution from both parties. Again, I've already answered that question. You don't have to bring cash contributions. No one has to bring cash contribution. You can, it's welcome. So you get a bigger project, but there's no percentage rules that apply into this.
But you do need to bring in kind. There needs to be an internal capacity in your business to be able to allocate some resources to do the work, and then take what's been developed and either take it to market or generalize it more broadly. So, you know, there has to be some internal capability and capacity to develop this into something meaningful.
Okay. Next question. What stage should the proposal have reached towards a mature product? Well, it depends. There's no specific requirements there. It could be very, you know, a very top end beginning of inception into the research and R&D of your product, or it could be up to, you know, towards the end around commercialization.
The preference is to have something, whatever it is, it needs to markedly improve where it currently is. So if you're looking at a TRL or a technology readiness level, If it currently sits at around 4, we would hope that this kind of project would take it to 6 or 7. You know, if it sits at 3, as long as it shifts the dial on it and progresses it to a point where, you know, the impact, and yes, if it is a product that's being developed, it's the predicted impact. You can't give a guarantee that it's going to do exactly what you want it to do unless you already have a product and this project is extending what you already have. Both of those scenarios are perfectly acceptable.
Thank you. Can iMOVE assist with introductions to other parties such as universities to fill in capability gaps? I'm going to say potentially no to this because there's a lot of interest in that, but in saying that, I'm sure if you put that in the chat, people can respond to you in your email and say, hey, you know, so I would say there's a lot of university here. If you're looking for someone specific, I would put it in the chat. It's a bit hard. This has a big reach out to a lot of people, but yeah.
And it also goes to the equity, because it's a competitive process, being fair to everybody. Our usual way that we do things is we help facilitate these projects. So we would reach out to partners, we would bring in other partners. This isn't that sort of arrangement because everyone is being treated on an equal sort of footing. So everybody has to come, they have to put their best game forward, get the partnerships ready. When you fill in the application, put the most compelling scenario forward, and that's what you'll be assessed on. If it requires us to start matching up, then it means all of the applications will be doing the matching, and that's not what this sort of program is. It's up to all the applicants to get that collaboration together, and then we fund it.
Thank you. Can we involve overseas industry partners as collaborators? The technology will be implemented in Australia. Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. I'm going to wait for more questions, but everybody's okay. Are you able to outline the judgment selection criteria, e.g., is there any weighting to the key criteria? So well, first there is the eligibility criteria that are explained in the guidelines. So it's very simple, like yes or no. If all of them are yes, then you know that means that you can get through. If you know there is something that is not met, we will not, will you not be considered. But I don't think the aim is to, I don't know, Leanne, we haven't really discussed that, if we are going to share the selection criteria and the weighting.
We're gonna wait. We've got an assessment outline and assessment criteria. We want to wait to see what we actually get. So what the applications look like. Depending on how broad they go, we wanted to wait before we have a process where we're going to refine the criteria over the next couple of weeks. We wanted to see, what comes out of the submissions once they start coming in. So yeah, the bottom line is we're not, as long as you stick to the guidelines and kind of respond in as best foot forward kind of a way. The actual selection criteria, we have them for probity's sake, so that everybody is going to be assessed on the same criteria. But in the process of us refining those, they may shift slightly. But that's a bit of a work in progress at the moment. We have broad, high level, and we're working on the details of what that looks like. There is a question from Jeff. You could consider saying at some stage that while there is no commitment for any further rounds, that you would be reviewing the program application implementation, just acknowledging that while the team has considered this program at length with various aims, you will review its effectiveness. You may want to be silent. So yes, there is a possibility that we may go out with further rounds, but at this stage, these two are these two are it at the moment. But yes, depending on how this goes and how it's received and the kinds of responses that we get, you know, we may well have a second round, you know, later in the CRC, but that's not the intention at the moment.
Right. Yeah, I don't have, I'm just waiting for more questions. So what we're going to do as well at the end of this is this is recorded, so we will share the link to the recording onto the website, and also we're going to create an FAQ page with all the questions that we had today, plus the one we have in emails, and it will be uploaded as well on the website. And if there are more questions that are coming up, we will add them to that as well. But any questions that are not in the FAQ or we have not answered here, and you know, sometimes as you start writing down your application, questions come up. So if you can send them to the IEP mailbox, we will respond to you. All right, I haven't seen any more questions.
Excellent. So we'll just give it a minute or two, and then if there aren't any more questions, we thank you for participating. Thank you for showing up. And is there a
everyone, Sebastian.
There we
is
go.
there a possibility to pitch ideas early? I didn't one-to-one with iMOVE. No. No. Submit it and we'll assess them all at the end. I have to say there's someone that's already put an application in, but we're not going to look at it until we have everything. So no, we'll not. And even if you call me, no. Okay. Last chance. Okay.
Okay.
We'll send us an email. IEP, is it IEP@iMoveAustralia.com?
And yes, we are very excited to receive the applications, and yeah, don't be shy. If you think it's a good idea, that is good enough for us. As long as it's in our domain and in the broad remit that we operate in, we welcome. And you don't only have to put in one application, you can put in a few.
Yeah, you can put
different
several
ideas. So yes, we absolutely welcome that. Take full advantage. Okay, everyone, thanks very much. We look forward to receiving your applications. All the best.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.